Good afternoon, children of class 11th, Bio Group. Here we continue with the first chapter. We've almost reached the last part with the fifth video. And last time, if you remember, we had studied about life as an expression of energy changes and exchange of matter. We also learned about open and closed systems, steady state, and homeostasis. Today, let us look at the feedback systems through which homeostasis mechanisms in the organisms work. What is a feedback system? Feedback system refers to monitoring. That means we see how we make out it's working, or the supervision of a process. Feedback systems within an animal bring about physiological and biological adjustments which minimize deviation in internal conditions. So the feedback system shows how the deviations in the internal conditions, they are minimized by producing certain physiological and biological adjustments inside the animals. Now each system has got three basic components. They are receptors, integrators, and effectors. Now let us talk a little about all three of them. What are receptors? Receptors, as you have already studied in previous classes, they convert the information about changes in body into electrochemical impulses that travel to the brain. For example, if we are pricked with a needle, then that is carried by the receptors to our brain. And this report is given in the form of electrochemical impulses. Then we see what integrators do, the second ones. The integrators, they are special areas of the brain which include the hypothalamus, medulla oblongata of vertebrate brain, and that receive information from the receptors. What they do after receiving the information, they evaluate the information, then sends command to the effectors capable of connecting the deviations from normal. Then what do effectors do? Effectors are muscles and glands. They act in ways that return the body to its original, more suitable state after some deviation from normal. Now let us see some of the examples of hemostasis to understand the feedback systems or the feedback mechanisms. Keep looking at this diagram, children, that I am showing here. We see here that hemostasis is maintained largely through a negative feedback system. Here we see that our body here is showing that less thyroxine is being secreted. And when less thyroxine is being secreted, the body through its receptors finds out that the thyroxine level is becoming less, and so our body sends the feedback to the brain. And in the brain, children, what did we have? We had integrators in the brain, and these integrators, they inform the pituitary glands. They help in secreting more releasing factor, and the more releasing factor, so that more of thyroxine hormone is secreted, the more releasing factor, it finally works on the thyroid gland. So more thyroid stimulating hormone is stimulated, and from the thyroid more of thyroxine is secreted. Likewise, see, when the optimum amount of thyroxine has been secreted, then we see that the body is again informed. We see number one step here, more thyroxine has already been secreted in the body, and that much thyroxine is not required now. So again there is a feedback mechanism that will inform the brain, and this information is given by the receptors to the brain. The brain contains the integrators. These integrators again inform the pituitary that less releasing factor should be given out. This less releasing factor finally tells the thyroid stimulating hormone that it should be secreted in less amount, and thus thyroid gland is informed, and so again less thyroxine is secreted. So we see the forward and the backward feedback, the positive and the negative feedback here. Let us also look at another example, how right amount of water is maintained in the body. You see the kidneys here, children. Kidneys are able to control, or they check the loss of water from our body. For this, water is reabsorbed by the collecting tubules in the kidneys, and so as to prevent its undue loss in the form of urine. The absorption of water is under the control of antidiuretic hormone. So antidiuretic hormone controls the water, absorption of water, and when ADH is secreted by the pituitary, we see here the brain was informed by the feedback system, and it ordered the ADH to be, or the antidiuretic hormone to be secreted, and so we see that the loss of water had to be maintained. And then we see that if more water begins to lose by body due to greater evaporation, due to summer conditions, a decrease of water in the blood will take place. Now when the water amount is decreased in the blood, then changing its internal environment from which our body is very sensitive. At the time of need, a positive signal of the brain causes the production of ADH again, which increases, and so the absorption of water in the kidneys is reduced, and excretion of the urine is reduced in summers. The absorbed water goes back into the blood to maintain normal concentration levels of fluid in the blood. So we see again the negative and positive feedback, and so we see this is another example of maintaining homeostasis. Then we see a third example, that similarly body temperature is also maintained. Negative feedback operates to maintain body temperature. Receptors in our skin, for example, they detect changes in the skin temperature, and neurons which belong to our nerves in the hypothalamus, they detect changes in the blood temperature. This information is sent to special areas within the hypothalamus, where it is interpreted and evaluated. So it is evaluated that the temperature of the body is suddenly rising, person must have done exercise, person must have run very fast, and so on. So the hypothalamus then sends a command to appropriate effectors. When the temperature is above normal, the arteries in the skin, they begin to dilate, which you have already studied in class 9th, is called vasodilation, which brings, this vasodilation brings warm blood to the surface, and the sweat glands, they release sweat, and the body is cooled and evaporates and removes heat from the skin. On the contrary, when the temperature is being normal or it is cold outside our body, the arteries in the skin, they constrict, which you have already studied in 9th, is called vasoconstriction. This prevents warm blood from reaching the surface of the skin, and the skeletal muscles shiver, forming heat from excess cellular respiration. During the course of these adjustments, the hypothalamus now continues to receive information about body temperature and to adjust its commands in response to the information it receives. And we see that finally our body becomes warm. When vasoconstriction takes place, body again becomes warm and normal temperature of the body is reached. We see here that why we have to study biology. Because this is our subject, we must know that why it's important to study biology. Biology, first of all, it helps us to understand ourselves better and to release the meaning and realize the meaning of being alive. Why we are alive, why we are strong, and how we can maintain ourselves best because we understand our functioning. Second thing, biology enables us to meet our needs through judicious use of resources, eradicates diseases, and check degradation of our environment. That is why biology helps us and makes us aware. Then third important aspect why we study biology is it makes us aware about fundamentals of nutrition, health, and population control. And fourth thing which biology helps us is it makes us aware of our role on the earth, and it reminds us of our limitations in understanding the ecosystems and enhance our appreciation of the beauty of rich and varied living heritage on our planet. So many different organisms are there in the planet. So we play a role of looking after the beautiful organisms of our world. We also study their ecosystems, and this gives us more understanding. Then let us look at the fifth point. This teaches us how to practice science in our lives. So that's why biology is important. The sixth point is given right at the top of page 5, and the sixth importance of studying biology is that it warns us, it gives a warning to us about the possible environmental hazards caused by man. So we are careful so that we do not overdo things, we do not release too much garbage into the environment, we do not release too many toxins into the environment, so that our environment remains friendly and non-toxic for not only us but all the organisms that are around us. Now we also see here on page number 14 there are major branches of biology. Children, please go through these. I won't be reading the definitions of these branches. They are very interesting, like anatomy, biochemistry, biogeography, biometrics, cytology, ecology, embryology, development biology, endocrinology, entomology, eugenics, evolution, exobiology, genetics, gerontology, histology, immunology, limnobiology, microbiology, molecular biology, morphology, paleontology, phenology, physiology, radiobiology, and taxonomy. So children, go through these definitions, and I've also asked a question regarding this to you in the assignment that I have given. So we have almost come to the last part of this chapter, which we'll cover in the next part of the video. So Till then, children, wish you all the best. Have a good day and thank you.